Why would you like to?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I was.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of the Peace Clinic. We appreciate you for taking out time to join us on today's episode. So for today, we are looking at quite an interesting topic, and we have a number of guests joining us on today's episode. So this episode is based off on the 1 month free online training course tagged Emotional Intelligence. So we'll be looking at an aspect of the training, and we have also brought in some of the students to share what they have learned about empathy and how it contributes to understanding opposing viewpoints, especially in situations of conflict. So once again, thank you for joining us. So today in the studio, we have Mrs. Ramlat, we have Mr. Gabriel, Mr. Peter, and also we have the Registrar of the Institute, Ambassador Tahule Joshua. So he will be joining us as the main facilitator of the 1 month free online certification training. So if you're yet to join the training, it's a good time for you to join us and also partake in the training. So once again, you're welcome, everyone.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
very
me.
much.
Okay,
Thank
so
you too
today
for
we are
having me.
discussing how does empathy, a key component of emotional intelligence, contributes to understanding opposing viewpoints in conflict. So we know that empathy is a central component of emotional intelligence, and it actually plays a crucial role in understanding opposing viewpoints during conflict. During conflict, as we are aware, there are several opposing viewpoints, which most at times is the main cause of that conflict. So when we talk about empathy, it actually helps individuals to step outside their own perspectives and to genuinely engage with the emotions and thoughts of others, even when their belief or their opinion differs from that of the conflicting party. So today we'll be getting to understand more about empathy, and also as a key component of emotional intelligence, how it contributes to managing opposing viewpoints in conflict. So as we proceed, we would love to hear from the students, as students who have been part of the 1 month free online certification course. What can you tell us about the course generally? What has been your experience, especially as it has to do with empathy? What have you understood with empathy and how it influences conflict? So as we begin, we would love to hear from Mr. Gabriel. Mr. Gabriel, please talk to us about empathy, what you understand by it as a component of emotional intelligence.
More and thank you for this privilege to be on your platform. I would say the training has been very educative, very insightful. The lecturer has been wonderful, and we have been enriched this couple of days that the training has been on. I've learned so much, and I want to appreciate the Institute for Peace and the Global Institute for Peace and Conflict Management for this sound initiative. Is a wonderful one. Now, empathy, like we said, looking at the topic that we were given, the components. Now, empathy, which is one of the key components of emotional intelligence, it's very important I mean, you come to understand, like we know what is empathy as the case may be. Empathy is different from sympathy. Why sympathy is primarily you maybe feeling sorry for someone, but empathy goes beyond that. So empathy is understanding and feeling the same thing the other person is actually feeling. You have their perspective. You step into their shoes. You hear them. You feel what they are feeling. And in most cases, in most conflict cases, when people feel that you understand them, when they know that you feel what they are feeling, they will be able to open up. I had an instance in one of our mediations. We were mediating over a couple, and the husband was saying he was no longer doing, he doesn't want the marriage any longer. And the wife too was saying she doesn't want that. They came with their counsel. It was a mediation session. The wife came with her counsel. The husband came with his counsel. And it was like a tie. And we now asked them, okay, why not excuse? Let's speak to the individual couple, the spouses separately. And in our interaction with the husband, while discussing with him, I made him to understand that I feel his pains. I feel he's not being appreciated at home. He's not being respected and every other thing. When he felt that I was empathizing with him, the man just broke down and started crying. The man cried and heaved a sigh, and he just opened up, and we started making progress. That's to tell you that empathy plays a critical role in how you resolve conflict with people. You see, empathy will reduce misunderstanding. The person will feel that he's being heard. You know, there's a difference between when you're hearing someone talk and when you're listening to the person. In empathy, the person believes that you're listening to him, while in sympathy, is basically you're hearing it, just like you hear a noise and you pay a close attention to listen, to be able to interpret what the person is saying. So empathy is a critical component for us in the society to be able to understand one another and overcome crises and conflicts in our society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel, for that beautiful piece. So we would love to hear from Mr. Peter. What can you say about empathy? That's from your own perspective, based on the ongoing training. What have you learned from empathy, and how has it, shaped your perception when it comes to using empathy in conflict? Mr. Peter, if you can hear me, you can go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Okay. First and foremost, I just want to appreciate the Institute for this wonderful, enriching, and informative session. In fact, I really benefited a lot. And it has all the lecture we've started, or the program we've started these few weeks, I really opened my understanding to knowing some things which ordinarily I was doing, not even attaching any importance to it. But with the help of this lecture or this training or this 1 month program, in fact, my understanding, knowledge is broadening. So kudos to the Institute. Thank you very much. Talking about the team that was given to us, like my fellow colleague just said, well, empathy can be broadened in so many ways. Understanding empathy, it's a key in resolving conflict resolution. The word empathy might be common, but is deep in meaning. So why we have issues, problem in our company, in our society, in our nation, it's because this word empathy, it's a word, but it's a big word. It's a deep meaning word. So for us to make any progress in resolving conflict, the word empathy must be understood by individual. The word empathy must be understood by our society. The word empathy must be understood by our nation. Now, I go further. Just like the empathy is part of an ingredient in emotional intelligence. But if you look at the word empathy, for you to have empathy, there are keywords, other subwords you can use to understand empathy. Understanding it deep is a strategy you can use in resolving conflict. So for you to understand this empathy, you have individual have to have what we call active listening. It's not just passive listening because if you don't listen attentively to issues, there's no way you can be able to address conflict. There is no way you can be able to bring out the best or solution in a conflict. Another thing again you need to understand in the word empathy, which is broadening, like I said, is broadening, is to have the same feeling. Put yourself in the shoes of the other opponent. For example, if there are issues, there are problems, then in the process of trying to resolve that issues, you just need to see yourself if that issues is going awry or going out of the place, but you just need to put yourself at the position or the feeling what that person is feeling for you to understand where is this one coming from and is this one going to. Then again, in trying to resolve issues like empathy, like I said, it is broadening. You have to look for a common ground to settle issues. In fact, it's a big word that every one of us, whether in a mediation team or wherever that person is, must understand the word empathy. Without the understanding of the word empathy, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do in conflict, trying to settle or bring peace amicably between two parties. So the word empathy is deep. And like I rightly said from the beginning, I have come to understand and my knowledge is well broadened on this subject. So I give kudos to the Institute. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter. Spoke about listening, which is an interesting sector when it comes to empathy. So we'll be moving on to Mrs. Ramlat. We would love to hear from you now. The topic we are looking at concerning empathy as a key component of emotional intelligence and how it relates to conflict resolution. Mrs. Ramlat, over to
All
you.
right, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Can
Yes,
you
we
all
can hear
hear
you
me?
clearly.
All right, good evening, everyone. I must confess, this my confession period throughout training it's a pleasure to be part of the students to attend this emotional intelligence course. It's a good one. Though actually I'm a student of peace and conflict resolution originally university. So it widened my thinking. When I saw this advert of emotional intelligence, it widened my thinking. It put me in a position whereby I start seeing myself as a peace ambassador, something like around to bring mediation. The word empathy, when I was given yesterday, I saw it. I say, wow, this empathy itself is a crucial point in emotional intelligence. In fact, without the empathy, the whole of this country will not be at peace because the only reason we are still suffering, the only reason everything is going backward, the only reason everybody is thinking, trying to push blame at everybody is because we lack empathy between ourselves. If everybody can be able to have that emotion of trying to figure out what are you feeling, what is your feeling, everybody is sending accuse to individual. No, try to think, why is that person acting the way he's acting? Why is it going the way it's going? The only reason why things are going apart is because we lack listening in order to figure the empathy between individual. It mostly happen at mostly place of work, like family issue, community escalate. Most of conflict that come and escalate in family, community, working place is lack of empathy. When I heard this empathy, I try to figure how we can like give it an outside orientation. If everybody is to be oriented on what is the importance and like what is mean for empathy, then I think peace is going to be reign at every, because this empathy itself, as my colleague stated earlier, of peace mediation is the key. If you can grab empathy, if you can able to put your legs in position of the others, then you have gotten half of the solution to that conflict. I don't want to take time of saying much, but with this I've said, I know you have gotten it, that empathy is a crucial and fundamental point in emotional intelligence. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ramat, for that beautiful contribution. Now we'll be going in depth. We'll be looking at how does empathy contribute to conflict resolution as a people, as a nation, and also, conflict is one thing we always look forward to resolving, even as an institution. So we will be considering how does empathy as a component of emotional intelligence actually helps to influence conflict management and conflict resolution. So from the onset, Mr. Gabriel spoke about recognizing emotions behind opinion, about the case of the couple and how he as a counselor showed
Marion? Sorry, I'm not hearing. I'm not hearing you.
We can't hear you.
I think network have thrown her out.
Apologies for the break in the internet connection. So I was talking about recognizing emotions. Mr. Gabriel spoke to us about something similar to that. I'm having to empathize with people so they can open up and so that conflicts can be resolved. So there are actually certain emotion that drives conflict, and most times people do not actually, get to see these emotions, or you're just looking at the surface level of the conflict. But as peace ambassadors, as conflict resolutors, it is actually important that we get to look at these emotions. So, Mr. Gabriel, we would love you to shed more light on, recognizing the emotions behind conflict and how it can be resolved amicably.
Okay. Thank you once more. It has been an interesting program thus far. Yes, we have a conflict in our society. As a matter of fact, when you have a relationship between two or more persons, the tendency to have conflict is sure, because conflict comes as a result of maybe disagreements, incompatibility between two or more persons. conflict can arise as a result of maybe one person desiring to have his or her own way. And when we talk about emotional intelligence, it is an avenue and places us in a position where we'll be able to understand what the other party is feeling. Emotional intelligence, you'll be able to understand your emotions. When we talk about the component, when we're talking about empathy as one of the components of emotional intelligence, we are looking at 5 components of emotional intelligence. We're talking about self-awareness. Self-awareness is the ability to understand and recognize your own emotion. When you're able to understand and recognize your own emotion, and as well, you'll be able to understand the way your thought pattern and your behavior will go. That is on self-recognition, which is another component of emotional intelligence. And you have self-management to be able to control your emotions. We have a society where people are not able to control their emotions. Somebody will get so agitated, so angry, and he will not be able to calm himself down. The emotional intelligence will enable the individual to regulate, to understand, to regulate his emotions. Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, we're with you, sir.
Okay. Then we have our social awareness, the ability to understand the emotional needs and concerns of other people. When we're dealing with other people, we need to understand they have their own emotional needs. We need to understand that they see things from their own perspective. Now, we understanding your ability to understand emotional intelligence enables you to empathize with those people, enables you to feel what they are feeling, enables you to come from their own perspective. You see, the truth of the matter is, in conflict resolution, when you come to the table of resolution, when the other party, the opposing party, does not believe that you are seeing things from his own prism, from his own perspective, it will be difficult for you to convince him to your line, because he believes that he has a strong reason for maintaining his position. So emotional intelligence will enable you, these different emotions will enable you to be able to see things from their perspective, and you'll be able to mediate. And when we talk about conflict, probably in our societies, when you have issues with people, even at home with your wife, you need to understand from her perspective what she's seeing and how she's saying it. It's only when they believe that you understand them, that is only when they are free to open up, because naturally people want to go defensive. But when you show empathy, when you show you understand them, you're able to regulate your own emotions, they'll be able to open up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel. So we would love to hear from Mr. Peter. You're talking about emotions when it comes to recognizing these emotions, and how these emotions. When we talk about emotions, we're talking about emotions such as fear, frustration, anger, insecurity. Most of these are emotions that that fuels conflict. So what can you say about recognizing just emotions, and how does recognizing these emotions help to resolve conflict?
Hello. Let me say, I can barely hear what you just said. But anyway, let me just I can barely hear the question you asked because of network issue. So I don't know if you can
Can you
rephrase
hear
what
me
you just
now?
said again. It's
Okay,
breaking.
so
It's breaking.
okay, so since talking about recognizing emotions, and how they influence conflict, just like we made mention earlier, so we just want you, to talk to us about recognizing emotions and how it is important to recognize these emotions.
With what you've just said, emotion we have to understand that emotions is a very vital instrument, very key in resolving conflicts in the society and in the organization. First, as human, you should understand that you have an emotion, you have emotion, and the other person that is seated with you, or whether in the society, in the nation, those causing catastrophe or problem, they also have emotions. So, how do you handle issues when you have when there are conflicts? First and foremost, you have to understand that the way you think is different from the way the other person thinks. So, how to address issues is having a proper understanding of what the conflict is all about or what the problem is all about. And when you have a deep understanding, you can be able to bring in emotions, because so many a times what causes problem or what the problem is that we don't pay absolute attention or listening to understand where the root of this problem and the causes of this problem is coming from. Sometimes, why do we have conflict? People say, this one say, without have verifying the true source from where this thing is coming from. But even at that, when trying to resolve issues or conflicts in the society, we need to pay absolute attention to one another, because putting yourself in the shoes of the other person. For example, there was a time issues came up in my organization that we had to have disagreement with some persons in the management team and some others. Then what happened? You could see the emotion of that person. Then at that point, you're not trying to claim, okay, I am right, or this person is right, or this person is right. All at that point is to see that this issue is resolved amicably. Peace, you bring peace, you introduce peace. And how do you go about that? Listening. I keep on emphasizing on the issue of active listening. If we don't listen actively, if we don't pay attention, there's no way we can understand the emotions of that other party. So emotion is a key thing in resolving conflict resolution in the society. So for us to be able to resolve conflict in society, one, we must be active listener. We must also feel the same way the other party is feeling, and also try to bring a common ground on how to resolve that issue. Thank you. Hello? Hello? The network is very, very bad. Hello?
I guess the network has cut her off.
Yes, yes.
So apologies for the glitch in network service. Okay, so we'll be having others join us. We apologize for the network glitch. So Mr. Peter, we're actually talking about recognizing emotions and how they influence conflict resolution. Please, can you kindly do a recap based on what you've said earlier? Mr. Peter, can you hear me? Okay, unfortunately, it seems Mr. Peter is not with us. Okay, so still talking about empathy and as a component of emotional intelligence and how it, greatly influence conflict resolution. We will be also looking at, how empathy can actually create open-mindedness. It's actually important for us to understand that when addressing issues relating to conflict, there's actually need for people to be, especially the conflicting parties, to be open-minded. Most times people just hold on to their view concerning the conflict, and most times they're unwilling, to empathize, to look, beyond their emotions, to actually see or get to know exactly what the other party is saying. So it is important for people to be open-minded when it comes to conflict resolution. So Mr. Gabriel, we'd love to hear from you concerning how we can, how conflicting parties, can be open-minded when it comes to conflict resolution in respect to empathy.
All right. Thank you once more. When you look at conflict resolution and the divergence of people's view resolving conflicts, you need to understand that you must, as a mediator or someone who wants to resolve a conflict, you must come down to view things from the perspective of the opposing individuals. Hello, hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So when we're talking about conflict resolution with empathy at the bedrock, you come at the table of resolution having the ability to empathize with those that have opposing views to you. You see, to resolve a conflict, you basically need to not to hold a strong position. You should be free, you should be open to hear the other perspective. Probably while this other individual is holding to this position, like an example might be someone who usually comes late to work. And maybe you as a supervisor, you are angry with the fact that this person is perpetually coming late to work. And probably you've given him 1, 2, or 3 warnings, and you want to maybe pull the sledgehammer on this individual. But you've not taken the time to find out what is actually the reason behind you coming late to work. Probably where he's staying is very far, probably transportation issue, probably family issues. So sometimes you need to empathize with people before you draw a conclusion. And the same is applicable in conflict situations. when you come to the conflict, to the resolution table, you need to understand the perspective of these individuals. You come so that you have a win-win situation. That is to say, you look at their opposing views, you make some concessions, and you explain the reasons behind your concessions. And that way you'll be able to, the person will feel, okay, you understand where I'm coming from, and you will have a resolution. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel. It is actually important in conflict resolution to understand, different perspectives, especially the perspectives of the conflicting parties. So, Mrs. Ramlat, we would love to hear from you. Concerning open-mindedness, when there's a conflict, the need for the parties to be open-minded as it relates to empathy and emotional intelligence.
All right. Thank you once again. Well, importance of open-minded and empathy on conflict resolution is is a mandate one, because it had to do with active listening. It really had to do with active listening. Then asking an open-ended questions, like you should let the party or the opponent, you should give them a room to say what they want to say. You should let them to pour out how it is and how it's doing them in within them. I think that will help to get out what is the empathy. That will help you to figure out the reasons or the pains in the party or in the individual. Active listening, asking an open-ended question, then reflective listening. When you are listening to a party or to a opponent, you should give it a reflective listening. As he's saying it, you should feel it within you. You should figure how it's happening physically. That will help you to figure out the main point he's trying to drive. Perspective taking exercises is good for you to try to open your, like, you should be so cognitive in order to get the reflective of what the opponent is trying to say. This is a key one. Higher level of listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ramlat. Mr. Peter, once again, you're welcome. To our audience, we deeply apologize for the network interruption of the Peace Clinic. But we would also love to hear from you. To our viewers, we would love to know what you think about empathy as a key component of emotional intelligence. It is without doubt that we need emotional intelligence when it comes to conflict management and conflict resolution. So we'll be looking at we are looking at empathy and how it contributes to understanding opposing viewpoints in conflict. So once again, you can reach out to us through the comment section. Let us know what you think about this topic, and we would love to have you in this conversation. So we will be having the registrar, Ambassador Joshua Tahule, join us on today's episode, and we would love to hear from him concerning empathy and also how it relates to conflict resolution. As the facilitator of the 1 month free online training certification course, we would love to hear from him. You're welcome, Ambassador Joshua.
All right, Janet, thank you so much on our participants who have joined to also contribute and share their perspective on the topic. Mr. Peter, I appreciate you. Mr. Gabriel, you are appreciated. And Mrs. Aliu, you are also appreciated. And then Mr. Mike Inde, for taking time to join the Peace Clinic today. So this is a Peace Clinic, and this is what we do to educate the people. And I'll thank God that today you are sharing your own perspective to also educate the people, also to help people to understand what they need to do when there's conflict. And today we are also discussing empathy, which is a very key important components of emotional intelligence. And as the student of emotional intelligence, which we have been on the training for the past 2 weeks, I believe you people are sharing what you learned from the teachings with us here now. And we are glad that you can share it effectively. So for us as trainers, we are grateful that we have learners that are learning well. So thank you very much. And then as your trainer on emotional intelligence, and Janet is asking me to also say something concerning empathy, how it contributes to helping parties in conflict understand each other's perspective to be able to, come out with good solutions to their problem. Empathy is very, very key. But by the time you make efforts, please, if you join us, just mute your mic. Mike, can you mute your mic? All right, thank you very much. Efforts to put your shoes, or put yourself in someone's shoe, then that is you are making effort to put someone's perspective into consideration. That is, you are trying to consider someone's emotion, someone's point of view, and that is helping you to place judgment on what you're trying to deal with. It's very hard sometimes when for people in conflict to actually try to reason with someone else. We always try to advance our own perspective, our own viewpoint. Do you understand? And we care less about what the other party is saying. We just want our points to be heard. But the best way we can be able to resolve any conflict effectively is when we are able to understand someone's perspective, ability to try to comprehend and consider someone's viewpoint. That will give us the opportunity to be able to appreciate what the other party is trying to say. Do you understand? And that is the reason why we must put our emotions in check whenever there is conflict. Because, in conflict, there is high tension, there is anxiety, there is serious concern. And so the only way we can effectively be able to manage those anxieties is when we put our emotions in check and at the same time try to listen carefully to what the other party is saying without any form of interruption. So if we can manage to put ourselves to control, that is our emotions to control, then we'll be able to listen carefully and at the same time able to contribute meaningfully towards the resolution of any form of conflict or understanding of any opposing viewpoints. So it's just our ability as individuals to be able to put ourselves in control in despite whatever provocation, whatever form of provocation that we may be facing at the point in time, just to be able to reason with someone else and then just cooperate. It's a form of cooperation. I am trying to understand with you, and as much as you are also trying to understand with me, so that we can arrive at the best solution to whatever issue we are trying to address. That is what empathy is all about. Thank you very much, Janet.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Joshua Tahule, for that beautiful contribution, making us to understand empathy better and how it helps towards conflict resolution. Mr. Makinde, unfortunately, we've not been able to hear from you because of the network interference. Please, if you can hear me, can you unmute and talk to us about your contribution towards this topic? Empathy as a component of emotional intelligence and how it contributes to conflict resolution.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening,
Please,
sir.
can you hear me? Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Based on this topic, it is obvious we are first of all acknowledge and congratulate the speakers who have been talking before. Uh, Based on the topic, we must first of all realize that human being has what is called individual differences. With these individual differences, everybody has different way of thinking, perception, the way we feel things are different. So as a result of this, there should be a different way of doing things. And the best way is to have this emotional intelligence, so that we should be able to deal with ourselves in normal way. And the key component in this emotional intelligence are many, in which empathy is one of them. So once we have this empathy and share the feelings of other in in a way that one is feeling, that is to feel exactly the way other are feeling. So if we can have that, then we'll be able to, manage ourselves. We'll be able to, to to deal with ourselves in the normal way, and that one will now lead to the active listening. You'll be able to listen to other. We will know that we are not the one that know all. So we listen to others, so we understand the feelings of others in terms of talking, in terms of behavior, and we'll be able to know our own limit, because of our solving a lot of problem in our society, and in us, to take care of everything, and we not have a prejudgment before the issue. So we listen to others, we listen to others, then we know everybody's feelings, and that one will help us a long way to deal with ourselves and to cope with ourselves. So, and this is very, very important in our life, and that one will now give us peace in all ramification. So, and this is what the topic is all about. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr.
Hello?
Makinde. Yes, we got you.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, Mr. Makinde, we are with you. We actually got your contribution. We appreciate you for that contribution. So moving forward, we'll be going into the comment section to see what our audience are saying. We have a comment from Mrs. Felicia, and she says empathy would lead to openness and fairness in expressing a viewpoint. It will also help parties to feel respected and human dignity upheld, especially while on the round table. Thank you very much, Mrs. Felicia, for that contribution. It's actually important, for parties, especially conflicting parties, to feel respected and also to uphold human dignity, especially in the case of conflict resolution. So moving forward, I would love us to, connect this empathy as a key component of emotional intelligence, especially to the current situation of our nation. As we can see, as a nation, we've had several cases of conflict, and recently we had the case of the End Bad Governance protest. Where we see a certain individual, where we see conflict, from the leadership, the government, and also from the people. So in that case, how can we say empathy has played out? We spoke about listening. Do we actually think that the government actually gave a listening ear to the people? Do we actually think that the government empathized with the people or the other way around? Did the people actually empathize with the government? Because the government came out to say, oh, we need more time to make things work. How can we relate that using emotional intelligence and in terms of empathy to actually manage conflicts like this? I would love to hear from Mr. Gabriel. Can you please, talk to us about this? We would love to know your perspective.
All right. Thank you once more for this privilege and opportunity. Looking at the Nigerian scenario in view of empathy and the government, we had a protest, and before the protest, there was an application from the people, and they outlined some of their grievances and some of the points that they believe that the government should be able to do something about. Now, when the protest commenced, we're looking at vis-a-vis the Nigerian situation, and the president said he will make a speech on a Sunday. From the perspective of emotional intelligence, I would have expected. Hello?
You can go ahead, Samuel, too.
All right. So I said, considering the protest that just was concluded some few days back, when you bring empathy into the picture, when the president came out to make the broadcast, well, I would have expected, that's my personal opinion, that the president would have made some concessions in respect to the agitation of the protesters, to say, okay, I concede this. The protesters are feeling that in the broadcast and the speech of the president, there was no concession. They feel that their pains were not put into consideration. And you see, when you have a conflict scenario, a conflict situation, it is important that the person feels that you hear him. The person feels that you empathize with him. The person feels that you understand with him. So if we want to resolve conflicts, even in Nigeria, in our political landscape, you see, the masses are feeling that the politicians are not really understanding what they are going through. The masses are feeling that the politicians care less. I mean, someone is telling you that he is hungry. You're talking about building, maybe renovating the vice president's residence, buying a yacht, buying a plane. You see, how would that ameliorate the plight of the individual? So emotional intelligence would help our leaders to be able to empathize with the people and come down to their level in order to forge the nation forward. Thank you.
Mr. Gabriel. Mr. Peter, I would love to, know your reaction towards this.
Okay, thank you very much. What I have to say, like in my speech, when I started, I did said empathy is a key word. If, as an individual, we understand the word empathy, it's not just saying the word empathy. We should also understand the deep meaning of empathy, both to whether to individual or to the government. In the recent, they just concluded protest. I think the government was not fair to the citizenry because there were demands. There were demands, and the government didn't show empathy into listening to the demands of the citizenry. Even the security agencies didn't help matters. So, like I will always say, empathy is a key word and is the best tools to resolving conflict. I wish when all these issues came up, the government, if they had empathy, would have invited the organizers of the End Bad Government to a round table. And you could have seen, if there was time, you would have seen empathy come into play. But again, in the part of the government didn't show any empathy at all. So what the president came to tell us was, I don't know the words to use, and I don't want to be disrespectful to the president, but the president and the government didn't show any empathy. So it means that they didn't listen, they didn't pay absolute attention or listen to the cries and the views of the citizenry. So for this, the government didn't help. Didn't help. I must say, I must register my grievances. The government didn't help. So going forward, I will say the word empathy is not just as we are saying it. There's a deep meaning in the word empathy, which the individual, the society, the organization, and the government must know what empathy is all about. So, going forward, with the word empathy, I think we can be able to change a lot of things and resolve issues in our country, Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter, for that. Mr. Makinde, would love to hear from you. In practical terms, talking about the just concluded End Bad Governance protest in relation to our leaders, the government, and also the people. What role could empathy have played in resolving that conflict?
Well, thank you. If you look at the issue, the protest, we can see that what is really lacking there, what is absent there is that of empathy. The ways of solving the conflict is not really followed because the government in its own side have a pre-knowledge that these people want to spoil the government. They have the belief that they want do the negative, take, overthrow whatever. But are they being, they have the open-minded, they you know believe that they have grievances, and let us listen to them. Let us feel the way the people, the masses are feeling too. The hunger is everywhere, no doubt. The sufferness is everywhere, no doubt. Every corner, there's no peace. Insecurity is there. Then I think they should listen to them, call this organizer of this protest to round table to listen to them. But they did not listen, they did not do that. So it now, continue to, the problem now continue to increase. So because we lack that empathy. If you really put in place, then there will be a solution. So empathy go a long way to solve problem. And are they in the government now do that? Call them into round table, listen to them, then it should the masses also will now build trust in them. Whatever they concluded on that day, the people will say, this government has invited us, they are listening to us, so they have good things for us. So it will build trust in them, and the people will be happy, even to some extent. So, and until if they did not follow what they have said. So emphasis has a long way to do in making bad things good, in making those who are annoyance angry to be happy, in order to make to have a peace in any problem. So if the government have really followed this, then there will be a peace. So that's my submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Makinde. We appreciate you for that. So to the registrar, Ambassador Joshua, we would love to, hear from you concerning this. In practical terms, we are talking about the just concluded End Bad Governance protest, and how empathy could have played a key role in amicably settling that conflict. So we would love to know how you would react to this.
All right, Janet, thank you very much. From the outset of the protest, you can agree with me that we have seen leadership insensitivity in the plight of the people and the yearning of the people. The leadership in Nigeria has not only pay attention to the yearning of the people. And that is what is also a major problem when leaders are completely absent or lack the empathy aspect of leadership that is needed to be able to lead the people and then have a listening leadership, then it becomes a problem. And that is, if we look at some of the statements that were made by some of our leaders, it will tell you clearly that these people have no iota of empathy in them. Okay, look at the statement from the vice president. Look at the president from the statement from the Senate president. It will tell you clearly that this board doesn't care about what the people feel and how they are, how they are doing. It doesn't matter. Are you getting the point now? And then apart from that, when you look at the president's speech, you know, it did not even correct what the protesters were asking for. And then apart from that, when you look at it critically, well, from the president's speech, you can say that you can pick one element of the order that can connect to what the protesters were actually talking about. They talk about hunger. President say, okay, I'm going to open up the borders, let there be food importation so that there can be food at a lesser cost, and then all of that. So we can say to a large extent that can go a long way, but how sure are we that food will come and it will be made available at the affordable rate for people? Do you understand? So these are the issues. So we cannot even categorically say that that is going to help the people much. So, but what I want to say here as a fact is that the leadership in this country is very insensitive to the plight of the people. And that is a complete absence of empathy. Do you understand? They don't have any form of empathy in them. They just care about themselves and their welfare, but the welfare of the people that elected them into the offices, they don't care about it. And that is also another point of concern, because in the environment or in the political system whereby the leaders believe that they found their way into the office, not the electorate that elected them into the office, there's no way that kind of leadership will empathize with the people. Do you understand? Because they believe that they have secured their way into the office and nobody elected them. In their heart, they know this, the truth. If they say through their lips that, yes, thank you for electing me, it's because they felt they went into election and they assumed, and everybody assumed that in the election you must be elected into the office. So, but those that occupy those positions knew truly that some of them, not all, some of them knew truly that the office they are occupying, they bought it. Do you understand? So how would you expect such kind of a leader to be sensitive to the plight of the people? And how do you expect him to empathize with the people? One, they did not vote him into power, he bought his way. So why should I care? I'm here because I have to recover all that I have spent to secure this position. Do you understand? So they are doing all manner of things. How can you be on the streets of Nigeria in time past saying that fuel that was 187 naira was too much for the people, and then you took over power, and then you took fuel from there to 600 or to 700? And you understand? And the protesters are saying that, okay, we need this to be reduced, and you did not even say a word. How can a leadership that has a refinery, even if it is since the government are not working, we have a refinery that one of a citizen of the country built to help to process fuel, crude oil into this country, and then we are still refusing to supply crude to this person. And yes, I understand. When I stumble over a documentary that says that Nigeria doesn't have the crude oil requirement to give to Dangote. Why? Because they have borrowed money here and there, and so the crude oil, the barrel of crude oil, have been a kind of a short. Is a kind of what would I say? What do you call it? It's a kind of what do you call it? They just use the crude, okay, as a remedy for the for the for the money, for the loan they have taken. Do you understand? So it will take them several, yes, correctra. Thank you very much. That's the word. As a correctra. Do you understand? So it will take Nigeria several years for them to be able to. So Nigeria, if you look at it critically, they have just 350 barrel, 350,000 barrels of crude oil accrued to them. That's Nigeria is producing about 1.6 million. You understand? Barrels of crude oil a day, but Nigeria is entitled to, as a country, just 350. The other ones have been given as collateral. You understand? And initially they were supposed to give down with about 450,000 barrels per day. Do you understand? For the processing of the crude oil, and then that is not available. So where Nigeria can get 400. So these are, if you look at it, these are some of the things that even make the issue worse. Do you understand? So when you look at this kind of things happening, it tells you clearly that how can a country mortgage its future in that way? You borrow money and use your crude oil, which is a major source of your income, and then mortgage the destiny of the nation completely. So it shows how our leaders have zero form of empathy. They don't have one, just single. They just care about themselves. So far as they are receiving their allowance and their welfare and buying high powerful cars to just go and then displace their affluence, then that is all they cares. But I can tell you for sure that the only time that the protesters will be on the street and people can listen and do anything is when the leadership have any form of empathy in them. But the kind of leadership we have today, I can tell you that they don't have any form of empathy in them. Because if they do, those things that the protesters were calling for, at least what stops you? Okay, if you cannot reduce fuel to even 100 naira that they say, at least you can say, okay, we can reduce to 500 or to 600 to 300. You understand? That shows a sense of concern that, okay, a sense of concern that, okay, these people, I know that I cannot be able to reduce fuel to this level, but this is what we can do. Do you understand? So in that way, we talk about electoral reforms. They didn't even say, President didn't say anything. I don't know that tomorrow or the next broadcast that he wants to do, he will say anything in regards to that. We talk about the judicial reform. These are some of the issues that we are even agitating for, but we are not seeing anything in that regard. So what are we saying? Do you understand? I listened to what do you call it? Okutuba and Jibrin. He was talking about something. This is a legal luminary that knew so much about the judiciary. He himself criticized the judiciary. Do you understand? He criticized the judiciary to a very high level. How the judiciary has failed the nation. You understand? So at all sectors of our economy, you can discover that leadership lack empathy. And that is one of the challenges that we are having as a nation. Once our leaders begin to empathize with the people and put the people's perspective into their leadership, then we will have it good in this country. Sorry, I have spoken so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Joshua. We appreciate your contribution, and thank you for the facilitating of the 1 month free online certification training. So to our audience, if you're yet to be a part of this training, it is actually a great opportunity to be certified, on emotional intelligence, and you get to learn a lot from our conversation. You can see that we're actually learning a lot from Ambassador Joshua Tahude. So once again, thank you, Ambassador Joshua, for your beautiful contribution.
Thank you, Janet.
So our time is actually fast spent, so we're coming to an end on today's episode of the Peace Clinic. I want to appreciate everyone who took our time to join us, to our students, the students of emotional intelligence, Mr. Peter, we appreciate you, Mr. Gabriel, Mr. Makinde, and also Mrs. Ramlat Aliyu. So we appreciate you for joining us. We'll be having this same conversation, on a different date. So we'll still create time to still discuss on conflict resolution and how much emotional intelligence influences it. So once again, thank you the registrar, and also to our audience, we appreciate you for joining us. To those who contributed, those who commented, we appreciate you for joining us. So once again, thank you, and we meet the same time tomorrow for another episode of The Personal. We'll still be looking at emotional intelligence and how it relates to conflict management and conflict resolution. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you tomorrow, same time.
And our training holds by 7 today. So make time to be part of the training.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank
So
you.
please don't forget to join us. So do have a lovely day.
So